Spider-Man is gone from the MCU, and people are shocked, mad, confused, and, like Jeff Goldblum,
I'm crestfallen.
Let's move past our knee-jerk reactions and take a pessimistic look at the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, without your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Get your tissues out, and let's go. Although the MCU is full of compelling villains, many of them tend to be literally larger than life. One of the strengths of Spider-Man is his ability to bring the superhero story down to the everyday and give us villains and a hero that have a real human appeal. Yes, Thanos does have his human moments. If you count sacrificing your own daughter as human,
I'm sorry, little one.
But his intergalactic sorrow does seem a little more removed from regular life than Vulture's dad talk in the backseat of his car.
I'll kill you dead.
Mysterio is the same. Although he's a world-class villain, he is still dopey enough to have devoted his life as a scientist to something called BARF.
Retroframing, or BARF. God, I gotta work on that acronym.
Without Spider-Man, the MCU would not only lose two of its most compelling existing villains, but also the four others that complete their bad guy supergroup, the Sinister Six. Although they haven't been in an MCU movie to date, the other four seemed sure to be next up in the Spider-Man franchise. Electro, Doc Ock, and Sandman have already been featured in past Spider-Man films to varying degrees of success. Kraven the Hunter, on the other hand, is new ground for web-slinging movies, and John Watts, director of Far From Home and Homecoming, said he would love to have Kraven in the next installment. But that plan will have to be put on hold. The relationship between Mary Jane and Peter Parker just might be the most iconic in comic book history. In almost every iteration of Spider-Man, from the original comics to Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst, to the two recent films with Tom Holland, the moments between Peter Parker and MJ have always been highlights, especially when they occur upside down. In the latest version of their romance, things were just starting to get rolling, or swinging, between the two lovebirds when the dynamics of the relationship were catapulted to the next level, with Spidey's identity being revealed during the mid-credits scene. Peter Parker and MJ's relationship has always been more entertaining under duress, especially when questions of identity are involved.
MJ, I am Spider-Man.
The upside-down spider kiss, for one, was unbearably tense and gratifying because Mary Jane had no idea that the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man she was kissing was also her friend Peter. But now, the next high-stakes chapter in their romance might evaporate just like the fake rain falling on Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst. Fans of Spider-Man and good movies in general were revealed when Spider-Man Homecoming came out, and they were spared the ordeal of watching Peter Parker lose yet another father and father figure, even though Tony Stark did end up checking that box.
You want me to start?
Pretty much everyone, from diehard fans to people who just happened to stumble into the theater, is aware of Spider-Man's origin story. However, if Marvel and Spider-Man don't ink a deal on everyone's favorite friendly neighborhood superhero, we might have to suffer through yet another version of that famous line,
With great power comes great responsibility.
please not again. The Marvel machine is already in motion, chugging forward with its intricately linked Phase 4. And if they have to write Spider-Man out of it and then write him back in later in the game, if they ever reacquire the rights, we are in danger of having to suffer through a story that is now almost as old as time itself. There's still much to be afraid about if another live-action Spider-Man movie ever comes to be. At the end of Far From Home, Spider-Man was looking ready to be a public figure and lead a new, younger Avengers into the MCU future, the way Iron Man did with the first Avengers movie. But with Spidey gone, who will they turn to? The Young Avengers have been described as a major priority for Marvel, and it's easy to see why. It's a perfect way to get the next generation of Marvel fans hooked into a series that just, quote-unquote, ended with a bunch of teenage versions of the heroes who made the Avengers so popular. They've got Riri Williams, who is a female teenage version of Iron Man, and could be the antidote to our current Iron Man-less world. There's Hulkling, the son of the original Captain Marvel and a Skrull princess, who is like the Incredible Hulk except for two things. One, he has control over his power of turning into a superhuman green monster, and two, he's blonde. If Hulkling is included, you can bet that his beau, Wiccan, will also appear in a movie version of the Young Avengers. As you might be able to guess based on the name, Wiccan's powers are similar to those of his mom, Scarlet Witch. There are many more Young Avengers that might be included in this possible next generation Avengers, but one in particular has already had his own Oscar-winning movie, a mention in Spider-Man Homecoming, and also happens to already be Spider-Man, Miles Morales. But without the rights to Spider-Man, how could Marvel possibly pull it off? In losing the rights to use Spider-Man in the MCU, Marvel won't just lose the next two films that Tom Holland is signed on for. They may have lost decades of money making movies. Back in 2017, Tom Holland pitched an idea to the executives at Marvel and Sony. He explained how, in the comics, Peter Parker is portrayed at all different ages, as a 15-year-old boy and then as a 35-year-old man. His idea was that he'd stick around from now until forever? Although the idea is ambitious, Marvel is definitely fond of planning ahead and keeping actors in their roles through many years and countless films. By walking away from the Sony deal, Marvel could be losing a decade of Tom Holland Spider-Man. Even though he made that pitch about acting in Spider-Man movies for the rest of his life, Tom Holland doesn't seem too concerned about who ends up producing them. In the confusion of the past few days, since it was announced that both Sony and Marvel were walking away from the negotiation table, it's been unclear if there would be a Tom Holland Spider-Man under either studio. He made his intentions very clear at Disney's D23 panel. Basically, we've made 5 great movies. It's been 5 amazing years. I've had the time of my life. Who knows what the future holds? But all I know is that I'm going to continue playing Spider-Man and having the time of my life. It's going to be so fun, however we choose to do it. The future for Spider-Man will be different, but it will be equally as awesome and amazing, and we'll find new ways to make it even cooler. What this seems to mean is that Holland is going to continue as Spider-Man. He said, "It's only going to get better and better from here," which is great. Let's hope so. When looking through the back catalog of all the Spider-Man stories, it's clear that not all of them were created equal. Spider-Man 3.
Now take on this.
If they were forced to stop now, Marvel will be missing out on peak webhead. The last time that the public knew Spider-Man as Peter Parker was in the Back in Black comic of the Civil War storyline. While he did appear in the Captain America Civil War movie, the most compelling parts of Spider-Man's story in the Civil War comics were completely changed in the film, and Spider-Man's true identity remained untold. Peter Parker, a public figure with a name and address, became the target of an assassination attempt that went wrong, and instead of him, Aunt May got shot. In other words, the best Spider-Man storylines are yet to come, and, in the hands of Marvel, have the potential to be just like Harry Osborn's pie.
So good.
During the mid-credit scene in Far From Home, Spider-Man peels his gaze away from MJ to see a news report of, guess who, himself. The 3-story screen shows a doctored video, that of Spidey ordering the drone strike on London, and him declaring that he must become the next Iron Man. It ends with Mysterio declaring Spider-Man's identity into the camera. The footage, it turns out, comes from the controversial news site thedailybugle.net. J. Jonah Jameson appears on screen, played by J.K. Simmons once again.
You serious?
And declares that this is conclusive proof that Spider-Man is a villain and Mysterio a hero. Jameson's makeover from a cigar-chomping old-time newspaperman into an online conspiracy monger in the style of Alex Jones is an exciting new step for Marvel in that they're engaging directly with a type of person, if not an actual existing person, who is active in American politics. Or I guess it would have been exciting. Whatever happens between Marvel and Sony, it'll be interesting to see what Jameson's motivations will be now that he has accomplished his life's goal of unmasking and defaming the Spider-Man. After the post-credit scene from Far From Home provided Marvel's main bridge from Phase 3 to Phase 4 of the cinematic universe, things may get a little tricky without the help of some very creative rewriting. Phase 4 of the MCU was likely to include at least one more solo movie for Spider-Man.
Hey everyone.
Good job.
But the real issue is the domino effect on the other movies and TV shows that Marvel has carefully set up for the coming years. Based on the other connections, like Endgame's Loki getting away, or Scarlet Witch entering the multiverse of madness via WandaVision, it's likely that Spider-Man is written into a few things. Not to mention an Avengers-style team-up movie in which the absence of Spider-Man would be conspicuous, to say the least. Sure, the Marvel movies are about making quality films for fans of comics, but what it comes down to for Marvel, Disney, and Sony is that these movies just make so much money. That's why it's so hard for these two to renegotiate their deal. Although parting with a character like Spider-Man, one of the original Marvel heroes, will certainly be sad for all sorts of very sentimental reasons, the people at Disney will be drying their tears with dollar bills and returning to the negotiating table soon enough. Spider-Man Far From Home recently became the highest-grossing Spider-Man movie ever, surpassing $1 billion at the international box office, and nobody wants to lose that. Marvel's financial concerns are probably more to do with the future of the MCU. As one of the central characters in the upcoming fourth phase, Spider-Man was set to be Marvel's big cash cow, the gateway to their next Avengers. For now, those billions of dollars in box office records are going to have to wait. And if you like this video, go check out our friends over at CBR. They have even more film theories, lists, and everything MCU. Don't forget to tell them that we sent you. The future of Spider-Man is in limbo, and so is the future of the cinematic universe as a whole. We're almost as worried as Disney. Could this be the beginning of the end for the biggest movie franchise ever? Or is it just the beginning? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to ScreenRant for more Spider-Man, we hope.